Hi, I'm Michael,
I'm Rob.
And I'm Damien.
and we are not in the castle, we are beneath the castle. This podcast is all about Disney. Tonight's movie is the 1963 movie Son of Flubber. And this is a free choice episode. And this is where we get to choose a movie. So we don't have to draw it out of a hat. We can choose whatever movie we want.
Yeah.
And tonight's choice is it's my choice.
Yay.
And well, the reason I chose Son of Flubber, I think, is pretty obvious. The Absent-Minded Professor was a surprise hit. We all loved that movie, and it was a lot of fun. And we laughed a lot in that one. So I wanted to watch the second one. So I thought, well, let's do it. Let's watch it. And we're going to find out tonight if it lived up to the first movie, or if it disappointed. Who knows? Damien, what is the plot synopsis?
So Professor Ned Brainard has already run into a pile of misfortunes with his discovery of the super elastic substance Flubber. Now he hopes to have better luck with the gravity-busting derivative he's dubbed Flubbergas. Ned's experiments, constantly hampered by government obstruction, earn the consternation of his wife Betsy. But a game-winning modification to a football uniform may help Ned make the case for his fantastic new invention.
Excellent. And what is, I guess, our history with this movie? Rob, you ever seen it before?
Never seen it before. Never, ever seen it. Only heard about it because of the Absent-Minded Professor. Only time I've heard about it. That's my history with it. How about yours?
Yeah, my history is I didn't know this movie existed until we watched the other movie, Absent-Minded Professor, and then we realized there was a sequel. And that's my history. Damien?
I wonder what your history is, Damien.
A little bit different, in that
Really?
it's not different at all.
Oh,
I have
twist.
never heard of this movie up until Absent-Minded Professor. Like the Absent-Minded Professor, I had never heard of that one either until we started doing this podcast. So
So this was all new to us.
all new,
and
never
we-
before seen.
And like the first movie, we watched together again, which was, I think, is good. I think this is a movie you should watch with people. Not that you can't because it's not on Disney Plus.
Not
You know
yet.
why?
You've got to go looking for it. All right. Well, now it's time for a history lesson with Rob.
Yes, it is. Okay, so fun fact about this movie: this is Disney's first ever sequel. First ever. This is the first sequel that they've ever done. And plans to make the sequel to The Absent-Minded Professor, they were announced in November 1961. So Walt Disney's daughter, she said that Walt only made the movie because there were unused gags from The Absent-Minded Professor, because Walt has always been completely against sequels. He hated sequels.
Oh yeah, he must be rolling in his grave these days.
He must be. The amount of sequels that are happening that we don't really need.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I feel sorry for him. Now, so fun fact about this movie, I think I know why we enjoyed this movie as well. Not only was the director, but the two people who wrote the screenplay, all three of them worked on Mary Poppins. All three of them. Director of Mary Poppins and both of the screenplay writers for Mary Poppins. So
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
it's pretty good. Now this there wasn't much about the production history, but this is actually, I read this, and this is actually pretty freaking funny about what happened. Okay, so so this has got to be one of the worst marketing tie-in attempts in movie history. So Hasbro In cooperation with Disney, they issued a toy version of Flubber. So, and they marketed it just before Christmas time in 1962. Similar to Silly Putty, that it could bounce like a ball and make comic imprints. The mixture was a combination of rubber, mineral oil, and green food coloring that had been lab tested with no ill effects and was marketed as being made of a new parent-approved material that is non-stick and will not stain. I'm pretty sure you both know where I'm going with this.
This leaves stains everywhere.
So, within weeks, claims came pouring in to both Hasbro and Disney that the Flubber was causing full body rashes and sore throats in many of the children who used it, resulting in several lawsuits by angry parents. Eventually, after much experimentation, by the FDA, it was determined that there was a property in the mixture of unknown origin that caused an infection of the hair follicles in certain individuals. Oh, it gets funnier. It gets funnier the way how they try to get rid of the Flubber. So the product was recalled, but disposing of it turned out to be even funnier. So the product, trying to incinerate the mixture only produced a heavy, dense black cloud around the Providence, Rhode Island garbage dump where the attempt was made. Working with the US Coast Guard to sink the substance at sea turned out to be a fiasco as well. As the next day, almost all of the dump Flubber came floating back up.
Can't kill Flubber.
Their third attempt, it actually worked. So finally, it was decided to use the mixture as landfill buried deep under the parking lot at Hasbro's new warehouse, just outside of Providence.
So literally bury the shame.
Bury the Flubber.
Even then, the incredible but true story doesn't end there about them trying to dispose of Flubber.
God, this is a movie in itself.
I know. I would watch this movie. This sounds great.
A popular urban legend among Hasbro employees is that every year during the hottest days of summer, you can spot some of the mixture oozing through the cracks in the parking lot.
Flubber's trying to escape.
Can't keep the Flubber down.
And that's it for the history of the son of Flubber.
What the heck could you put in that to have a reaction like that?
I don't know.
My first thought was there was like lead in the mixture or something. But I'm sure they'd been able to detect lead, even though they didn't really consider lead a problem back then.
Mm.
Yeah. But my God, tell me that was not like one of the funniest backstories you've ever heard about a toy trying to get disposed of.
That's great.
I definitely want that as a movie. That would be awesome.
I know, yeah. Nightmare of Flubber.
Let's start writing
Flubber.
Let's start writing the Flubber.
That's great. A horror movie. All right. Well, let's. I guess we're going to start talking about this movie that exists. And once upon a time, there was a movie called Son of Flubber. And we start the movie, and this is sort of reminiscent of the end of the first movie. He's flying into DC with there's a whole bunch of the planes, the jets, yeah. And that still looks pretty cool. This is kind of stuff we saw in the first one, so it hasn't really advanced too much in the couple of years since the first one. Absolutely not. But it still looks fairly good, as good as it did in the first one.
It looks like a product of its time.
Yeah,
it makes sense why the film is still in black and white. Because my God, if it was in color. Wow.
Mm.
I guess they probably just kept it because of the same reasons. Like you said, though, they said that part of the stuff, the footage they used was previously shot footage.
Mm.
So they would have had to have either recolorized old footage to make it work or reshoot everything.
Yeah.
So they
I
probably
wonder-
kept it black and white to reuse that footage, and for the same reasons they did the first one in black and white.
Well, I wonder what was from the first movie. I couldn't really tell.
I mean, the entire basketball back shot.
I mean, like, but they reused. They had extra footage, didn't they? That they didn't use in the first.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't even see like what was the extra footage or not.
So he's going to the government, and he's basically, well, I guess at the end of the last one, he sold the flubber to the government, and they were all going to use it together in harmony. And basically, what they're sort of like holding on to his idea, but they're not going to give him any money yet.
No.
Typical government.
Typical government.
Typical government.
And he needs the money because he wants to save the school. And this is the problem. But they sort of own Flubber now, right? Because he's sort of
Mm.
I think
exclusively.
he still owns the flubber, but he's made a deal to allow exclusive use to the government because they mention how he's not able to, like, because of the deal that they made, he can't now go and sell it to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, I think his idea is like, oh, it's the government, we're going to help people and stuff like that.
Mm.
We know that's not true. We all know that that's going to be weaponized like that.
Weaponized Flubber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know what happens when the professor weaponizes his flubber. We know what
We'll learn soon.
Well, after this we go to his house, and his wife Betsy. She's there, and she's in the house with a whole bunch of men, and no, Rob, not like that.
And you skipped the board meeting that they were having first.
Which board meeting?
The one where they were discussing how they're going to upgrade the school, make it bigger and better. And the dude
and
from
he
the
breaks
first
his
one, the
wrist.
loan shark dude, was like, you're all fools.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then Bernard has to like break the news that they didn't get any money.
That's true. And we have Mr. Hawk is back, right?
Yeah.
the best character in the movie.
He does less in this one though,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Like he threatens him at the start about like having to pay the loan and stuff, but we never really hear about that ever again.
Mm.
Like the only time that ever comes up in the movie. They do
Well-
mention like having to pay the money for the school and stuff, but like there's no resolution to that at the end.
Well, he's in court at the end. What was that for?
That was for him breaking things, for Bernard breaking things,
Right. Okay.
which we'll discuss later on when we get to
Oh my
that
god,
scene.
both of you gave a big spoiler alert to the end of the movie.
We don't know what he's broken yet. Could be anything. Could be.
Listen, he's got Flubber. We've seen in the first movie. Obviously, things are getting broken.
He's broken my spirit, that's for sure.
Well, we go to the house, and there's all these people are giving Betsy like a fur coat and pearl necklace, and a check for $1 million.
Yeah, which in inflation prices is like 9,110,000 US.
Yeah. So they want to make Flubber Enterprises, right? And they want to basically market Flubber and make a whole bunch of products out of Flubber.
That thing that they used to do in the 60s, they took one word and attached it to everything.
But
Yeah.
like honestly, what would you guys do? If someone offered me $1 million to use Flubber, I'll call the government and say, either you give me money to fix up the school or I'm selling Flubber.
Beat
Pretty
the deal,
much.
man. Beat the offer.
Yeah, I'll be like, look, they're giving me this money. If you want it, you got to pay up.
Yeah.
You know. So they they sort of they're watching TV now, and the guy with the most boringness
Most
Boring.
boring
Boringest.
most boring
voice.
voice.
Most boring voice.
Boring. Boring.
The guy with the most boring voice. You
Yes.
can't say boringest.
Most
or boring.
audibly taxing voice.
And basically he shows like clips of the first movie. And we get to see the basketball scene again, which is great. It's still great.
So good.
It lives up.
It does. And then we get the house is a booby trap scenario. And this is some great slapstick stuff going on here. The guy walks into the house and he does a full flip. And it's pretty impressive. It's jackass impressive.
Johnny Knoxville will
Yeah.
be proud.
Yeah, I think he saw this movie when he was a youngster and he was like, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to be that guy.
I want to
I want to intentionally get hurt.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And then he falls over in the kitchen again. Then the lady falls over with the baby, and it's pretty good.
We've all got boobies now.
And
Did you see what the baby was doing when they had all the band-aids on? The baby was trying to just rip the band-aid off his mum.
Didn't you
Yeah.
see what she did? She full looks at him and is just like she gave him a full death stare.
You're like, you came out of me, I can put you right back where you came from.
I think it's more stupid baby act properly.
well, I think maybe she hates a baby because in the next scene when they fill their house with flubber, Which is-
Flubbertronium?
flubber all over, like they put the flubber on the
They
ground.
took
somewhere.
linoleum?
Mm.
Linoleum?
Linoleum.
Yeah, that stuff, and added flubber to the start of it.
Yeah, so when the man walks in from working all day, he does a flip, but then he flips back up onto his feet again. Flubber, it's amazing stuff.
Completely safe.
And then the mum in the kitchen legit drops the baby, but it's all right, Damien.
Is
He bounces
it?
back up.
Oh wow! I'm gonna have to try that one myself.
I mean, she's lucky. Well, you got to make sure you have flubber on the floor first.
I'll go dig some up.
And I'll tell you also why she's lucky. Because the baby wasn't real.
Yeah, that baby did turn into a mannequin, didn't it?
Dodged it so hard it turned into a doll.
Yeah. It was. It was
so
so
scared.
It was so frightened it froze, and went turned plastic.
Oh my god, that's where the idea from Toy Story came.
Oh yeah,
It sees a human and it gets turned back into a toy.
possibly. But I mean, she was chucking that baby down over and over again onto the ground.
I think she was hoping to hurt the child.
Looked like it. What if it fell on its head? Then what happens?
Bounces into the roof.
It dies.
But like, yeah, like the floor's like
There's no flubber on the roof,
flubber.
Damien.
Yeah, exactly. The floor's flubber. So what happens if you
Yeah.
bounce it too hard? It like goes out the window. Like usually, what happens when a bouncy ball goes too high?
Yeah, if that ball's like a bouncy ball, it's going all over the joint. It's just.
Ugh.
Well, they watch this. So Ned and Betsy, they watch all this stuff, and Ned's basically he's like, I can't sell it to you. I've given it to the government. So then they leave and they start stripping Betsy.
Quite literally.
They take off her coat, take
Yeah.
off her pearls, then they start to remove her clothes. Excuse me, this is mine.
X-rated Disney.
Yeah.
And then you look at the guy's face. How disappointment.
Like, how far would he have gone if she hadn't realized? Like, when you're being like full like zip and then she's like, oh dear.
It's okay. It was the 60s. It was a different time.
I feel like she could have been stoned for that in the 60s.
She was called the little lady many times in that scene. One of the most sexist scenes we've watched so far of in Disney films. So they all leave, and then we have the basically what's the tax man? He comes in, and Damien, you explain this, but he wants money, right?
So I don't know if this is actually how it is in the US, but based on this film, it seems that you declare your tax expectancies in advance. You declare how much you believe you're going to make for that fiscal year, and then pay taxes for that. And he had said that he was going to make $1 million because he anticipated Flubber selling out big, but he made no money.
Yeah, he's broke.
So the taxman comes and is like, "Well, you declared this is your income. Where's our money? You owe us like, what was it, like 300 mil or something, 300,000 or something, $300,000."
This can't be right. This can't be a thing.
$37,000.
But what happens?
Mhm.
What happens if you say you're only going to earn, half, 1/3 of that, but then you
And
end
you
up
earn
making more?
You have to pay more. You pay more because
Then shouldn't you be able to readjust your own tax then after the fact when you know it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
And
theoretically should be able to say, I made $0 this year.
Yeah.
I owe you no money.
Yeah, exactly. You should, technically.
I mean,
Yeah,
in Australia, we do our taxes at the end. We
That's right.
calculate our taxes to pay after we've earned the money. We
That's
still
right.
mostly pay taxes in advance, but we get tax back if we don't make above the amount that's required for the tax threshold.
He's got a problem. He's got a big problem because he's broke. And
Can't even afford to pay for the paper.
no, he needs to make money. But he's coming up with a new invention, Flubbergas.
So I
And,
guess this is the son of Flubber.
Well, this is
Yeah.
we have to get to this point at some point. What is Son of Flubber? Because we all assumed. I assume you guys assumed what I assumed.
Yes.
Is that he
You
was
meant
going to
quite literally.
He was going to have a son in this movie, but he doesn't. So is this new invention? This is the Son of Flubber.
Has to be. Has to be the son of Flubber.
What does Flubbergas do?
I feel like it's pretty much just like helium, but like more potent.
No, but what about that gun? It controls the weather.
It's Storm.
Oh yeah, it just did that. So it did two things. There was the one that made the
Yeah.
son of the debt
Biff?
collecting dude. Yeah. He found a way to make it to make them lighter.
Yeah, in this movie, Biff works with Ned. He's
Yeah.
like a little
His
apprentice.
sidekick.
Yeah.
He found a way to make it lighter, while at the same time the professor was using it to make what looks like a death beam, but is actually a weather controlling device, which actually isn't a weather controlling device as much as a rain making device.
Laser gun.
Which also at some point becomes a window shattering device.
Yes. So yeah, it's kind of weird what this Flubber can do. It does whatever you want it to do for the story.
Whatever's gonna make you money.
So yeah, so we got Biff who he's concentrating on this football game that's going to be happening, and he wants to use it to put into a suit and make it. I mean, basically cheat, just like in the basketball game.
Yeah, very obviously too, and get away with it.
I mean, yeah. We'll get to that though. We'll get to that. This is also the point where I was like, we haven't seen the dog, and you guys were like, he's dead. Like, but
He
he's
got
not.
Flubber in him and he's gone.
He was in the kitchen. You see him
Lying on the floor, not moving.
Yeah, exactly. And then
still.
Hey,
He stayed perfectly still on the floor in the kitchen, not moving. He was there.
no, he was all right. And this is where Ned, he uses his gun and he tried to use it on a cloud, but it didn't work. But then he saw a kettle in his kitchen. So he aims his gun at the kettle and he makes a little storm from the steam that came out of the kettle. Is this possible?
Theoretically,
yes.
Rain clouds are just condensation, so it's just water that's heated up, evaporated, and then forms together to make a cloud.
Mm.
I mean, you see it when you put boil a kettle underneath like a kitchen top, and it makes moisture on the top. Rain clouds just that, but like because of the pressure and stuff of the atmosphere, it kind of like forms together before it starts to rain. But what he does with it later, when there are no clouds, is a lot more far-fetched than anything.
Yeah. Well, before all that, he goes in the house and Betsy lets him know that a visitor's coming over, and the visitor is her ex from the first movie, Shelby, and he's not happy about this. And why would you be? I don't know why he's coming over for dinner, but then he brings a friend who Ned used to have a relationship with. It was a Desiree.
What was the term he used?
I guess you can say
He used to go with her in the day.
that the
He went with her, right?
professor desired her back in the day.
He did?
Get it? Her name is Desiree.
Yeah.
No one's laughing. Wow.
Because it's not funny.
But
He's
also,
putting a pun on Desiree Desire.
Yeah, I know, right?
but also,
Close.
Karma bites Betsy in the ass because she invited Shelby. She was like, "Oh, there's nothing going on with me and Shelby." But then Desiree comes along to go, "Who is this bitch?"
Does it bite her in the ass though? She walks out on the professor because of it.
Yeah, it's Karma.
She gets jealous for no reason.
Absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Or
Like, she's
her
known this woman all of 5 minutes, and she's like, "Oh, they both want to screw."
well, her motivation in this movie just doesn't make any sense.
The jealous housewife.
I guess.
Like, it's so cliche, especially for like that era where that's sort of, I guess, the norm. In that the era of movies where
It was
that
the
like this.
60s.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. 60s was the era of the housewife.
Yeah.
She even mentions it at some point.
Yeah. So as that's happening, Biff is pumping up his friend in his suit. That's what I wrote. I mean, but
Pumping his friend up.
He's
with-
filling him
with
up
his
with
flubber.
Flubbergas.
yeah, with his Flubbergas, he's pumping him, and what happens with this guy?
After he finishes pumping him up, he relaxes because he just let it all out.
Well, he goes flying. Does he go flying out the window, or he goes flying in the air?
Yeah, I think he like flies over the fence into like the neighbor's chicken coop.
Yeah, he flies into the chicken coop, and then the farmer, the old man farmer, he comes out with his gun, and he's like, who's there? And the Biff and Ned are over there as well now, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ned's like, don't worry. What does he say? I can't remember.
If you have chickens or something, and it's just like.
Yeah, it's
And then they somehow dive over the fence.
Yeah. I mean, the fence is like this high, and they dive at it like this far over it. It's
Yeah.
massive. They must have put Flubber on their feet because they jumped that fence. So there's a Halloween party happening.
A what party?
Halloween? Sorry,
Halloween.
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 And Mr. Ned, Mr. Ned.
Professor Ned Brainard.
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 Yes,
However you want to pronounce it.
one or the other. He goes as a trumpet player. Was a saxophone.
Saxophonist, jazz player. I would
Yeah.
assume is the.
And he's hungry, so he fills his saxophone with popcorn and lollies and No.
As much as he can cram in there.
And then he gives it to Biff and the other guy who are dressed up as ghosts that they possibly have stolen from children, possibly not. We're unsure about that. But then he still has popcorn in his saxophone because he tries to play it, and popcorn goes everywhere. What else happens?
He was also trying to like get in, get the food, and get out before the ex who was throwing the party realized he was there.
Yeah.
Except she realized he was there.
Mm.
But then also, like 10 minutes later, his wife rocks up to the party with her ex.
How awkward.
And she has the audacity to have a fit.
I know. After the party, Shelby he leaves in his car, and this is what we have. Then we have the nightmare, the
Attempted murder.
Part 2. It's like the first movie. He's waiting in the shadows, and as soon as Shelby drives away, he turns his headlights on and he flies up above the car to give him nightmares again. This time he's got a gun that he's shooting at the car.
I mean, weather control gun, but he electrocutes him like 3 times.
Oh, I
don't know how he didn't end up brain dead.
He gets a weather storm in his car where his car's filling up with water because it's raining. He's getting electrocuted by the lightning, and it's lucky he's dressed up as just a scuba diver, and he's putting his goggles on, and he's like legit underwater now in his car. And that's when we cut to our friendly policemen from the first movie.
Just enjoying a coffee.
Just on the side of the road, just enjoying their coffees as they do.
Brand new patrol car that you just got.
Yep, brand new. They love the
Thank God
patrol
nothing
car.
happens to that new patrol car.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing at all.
So instead of stopping his car like he should, Shelby is like speeding down the town, filled up with a car of water, turns the corner, and slams right into the patrol car, and coffee goes all over the face of the guys,
Of the cops.
the cops.
And they turned the police car into an accordion.
Oh, that was awesome. If you watch anything from this movie, that scene.
This is one of the best scenes from the movie.
But
It's a callback from the first one, really, with the cops and they sort of in the first movie there was a lot of head-on-head, sort of like boom, but this was
Destructible cars.
This is a new way to destroy a cop car.
but if
I
you
want to know
were,
how they actually did that in real life.
It looked great.
if you were Shelby, if your car is filling up with water, wouldn't you open up all your windows, open up your door to get the water out?
Also, cars aren't watertight. That's why they sink.
Mm.
That water should be running out of the car.
I mean, this movie has no logic.
No, I mean, he has a weather gun, so...
There's a lot of things that don't make sense.
And a flying car.
Hey, flying cars are real.
I think logic bounced out the window already.
Flying cars are real. Have you seen Back to the Future Part 2? The year 2015, we have flying cars.
I think going off a cliff isn't the same as flying a car.
That's true.
Well, this is a great scene, and also I've missed the second time that Biff tries to pump up his friend.
Next door has just fixed up his chicken coop.
Yeah, fix up his chicken coop, and then he flies into the chicken coop again. Right?
Yeah, and he sits on his football and pretends to be a chicken.
Yeah. And then the farmer like blows the front of the chicken coop off of his gun, his shotgun, and then he blows the rest of his his chicken coop.
Whole thing just caves in on the chickens.
Plus, he kills all his chickens.
I guess it's safe to say that
I can't have him, neither can you.
I guess it's safe to say that he had chicken for about 2 weeks. He had chicken for dinner for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, he was like, well,
It's like the episode of The Simpsons and Homer accidentally kills his lobster.
mm. Yeah, he's pretty reckless with that gun. And he sort of did more damage than the dude did by going inside of it. Anyway, so this is all to prepare for the football game, and this is sort of the basketball scene, but this time we're doing football. And the whole idea, it's not as good. It's not as good, but it's still got some entertaining stuff. So the whole idea is that they're gonna puff him up, and gonna throw him because gravity doesn't really work the same with his suit. He can sort of stay in the air.
He's like helium. He's lighter than air.
Yeah, that's basically what they
a
did.
helium balloon, basically.
They basically put helium into him. Flubbergas is helium.
Hopefully not as combustible as helium.
No.
Go down awkward.
Just at the end of after they win, he just lights him up.
Yeah.
Celebration smoke. So basically, they give him the ball, and they pick him up, and they throw him. And this is pretty good stuff. It's as we said, not as good as the basketball, but it's still fairly funny. And there's like parts where they're just carrying him like a baby, and then they throw him to the next person, and he lands in there. So yeah, and then they try to do like a pyramid to try to stop him, which kind of works the first time, surprisingly. Because how long would it take them to build that pyramid, you reckon?
It took them a good 10 seconds or so, even in the film, to get to that point.
Yeah.
You'd have enough to... You see them. You see some guys climbing on each other. You'd be like, well, I'm not going to go that way then.
You'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to go into that pyramid. Let's just go around the pyramid. But it's a pretty cool part where they catch him. And then there's the next part where he does go around and they like all fall. Yeah, so that's that scene, and Paul Lynn, who's from he's from Bewitched and a few other things from back in the 60s.
That's why he looked familiar to me.
He's the commentator. He's quite funny, and he's got this sidekick guy who just talks gibberish. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Then what happens?
Just before the football game, what's his name again? Moneyline dude. Hawk?
Yeah, Hawk.
He owns the insurance company that had gotten a whole bunch of claims in because of people's windows mysteriously breaking.
Oh yeah,
and he's managed to narrow it down to the professor being the pinnacle of this code of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of threatened him with like being arrested and stuff. And just before the football game, he finds out that the police are like pretty much on their way to come and arrest him.
That's true.
So he kind of goes and hides out at the football game as well as one of the players.
Yep. Because he's using his Weber gun and basically smashing every window in town.
Yeah.
Not realizing he's doing it.
Technically liable for it.
But I mean, it's kind of on him, right? He kind of needs to pay back all this damage he's done.
His insurance would have to cover that.
He's heavily in debt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Need to take that house away from him.
Need to take that Flubber away from him.
It's the Flubber. He's a dangerous man.
So dangerous. In fact, that will come up later on, because I believe just after the football game, he does get arrested.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. So how does the football game end?
They win.
Field goal from the 98th yard.
Because I forgot his name. What was his name? The sidekick?
Biff?
Not Biff, the other one.
Not
Biff's
Biff.
sidekick.
Yeah, Biff's sidekick.
Not Biff.
Not
Yeah,
Biff.
not Biff. Yeah. Not Biff. The helium, the Flubbergas, it disconnects from the suit. So then he's like, I never wanted to use this anyway. And then he takes the needle out of his hat and then he injects it into the ball.
Full of heroin.
Full of heroin. He injects it full of heroin. And then he kicks the ball. And then they go for a 98-yard field goal, which has never been seen before in history in gridiron. Never before seen.
No,
And
not.
what happens?
Will it be seen again?
It happens. They do it. They complete the field goal, and then the football, it's flying, it's going, it's going, it's still going, it's gone into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they win.
And yet no one's called foul on that.
Yeah. This is like the first movie where the basketball coach ref is like, I don't know what they're doing. Can't stop it.
I mean, if you
like-
show me what is wrong, I'll assume it's not.
Yeah, but clearly they're cheating. So
He even says like what the coach of the other team
Yeah.
was like complaining to the referee. He's like, "Here's the rule book. If you find what they're breaking, let me know." And then he goes up to the referee and he's like, he's found something. It's like, I don't care.
yeah, he's like, yeah, I know, right? He's like, I found where they're cheating, and he's like, no,
I
I
found
don't
the
want
part
to hear
that
it.
says modifying a uniform or something that's foul.
Yeah.
It's like I'm having none of it.
Well, after this game, Ned gets arrested, and he's in court, and he has to answer for his crimes.
If you've done the crime, you got to do the time.
That's it.
I mean,
So
he
this
is guilty.
He is guilty. Yeah. Throw him away. Lock away the key.
End of the movie
What?
there.
Let him rot in prison. He's an evil person.
Well, you've really turned on the main character from the movie.
He's an evil person.
Well, so basically, Betsy has a plan, and so they need to stall time for like 20 minutes. So she gets up there and she starts talking for 20 minutes, and
She starts
Pretty
flapping
much.
her arms about how she met Professor Barnard.
And then about a dress she saw in the shops.
A blue dress which we didn't even see because it's in black and white.
true. And then who comes in after that?
The Mad Hatter.
The special guest appearance by Edwin, who he's a Disney legend. He's like from many Disney movies, and it was good to hear. It's good to see him, and when he talks, you know who he is. Like, I mean,
I literally heard his lisp, and I'm just like, I know that.
yeah,
I know it. I know
He
it. I
sounds
know
like
it.
Tigger. Did he? He never voiced Tigger, did he? Or he
No.
did. But he sounds exactly like Tigger.
Mad Hatter, and he did. He was in Mary Poppins as was it Uncle
Fred.
Fred?
Fred?
Mm.
Yeah,
His name? The uncle.
yeah. So but Walt Disney loved him. Apparently, I was reading. He loved Edwin, who basically well, just tried to make people laugh his whole life, entertain and make people laugh, and he actually died a few years after this movie, and Walt Disney was one of his to hold the coffins. What's the
Pallbearers.
Are they
Pallbearers.
pallbearers?
Yeah. So Walt Disney was one of his pallbearers, like that. He was part of the Disney family. He was really close to Walt. And
He was an OG original.
yeah.
Like you always say, Michael, OG original.
Yeah, OG original. And you know what, another thing that might surprise you? You know Hawk, the bad guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Hawk. That's Edwin's son.
Oh yeah, I remember reading. I remember reading that. And
But then
this is their only film that they've ever done.
Yeah.
This is the only film that they ever did together.
Don't you think they look like they're the same age though? When you
Yeah,
watch the movie, I was like, hey, what?
they do look the same age.
So
So
that's
does
interesting.
Edwin look young for his age, or
Yeah.
does Hawk look old for his age?
Who knows? Maybe a bit of both.
Possibly.
Yeah. So he's comes in and what saves the day?
Apparently, dry rain saves the day.
Dry rain. Yeah.
Apparently, that's what Flubbergas is. Wait, but if Flubbergas is
Apparently.
dry rain, how was what's his name all wet in
It's
the
still
car?
Well,
it's still
'cause
rain, right?
when he did it with the cloud, there was no rain.
Mm.
So whatever it did genetically enhanced the vegetables and the fruits through its thingamabob.
They are giant veggies and giant fruit. That was a giant walnut. It was huge.
Yeah. So they come in and they bring all this giant fruit and vegetables. Yeah. So this is basically the end of the movie, right? Is anything else
Yeah.
that we want to add to it?
Well, we don't resolve what happens with the flubber. We don't resolve what happened with the score.
It's true.
Like it doesn't really end so much as it just kind of stops filming whatever else happens next.
All right. Well, that's Son of Flubber, and they all lived happily ever after. And now it's time to rate this movie. How many dwarfs do we give this movie out of 7? And as always, let's go to Damien. What do you reckon?
I'm.
Is it as good as the first one?
What did I give the first one?
It's a good question.
I think I gave it like
all
a
of us gave it a
6.
6.
I believe we all gave it 6. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll give it a 5.
What's your reason?
It feels like a lot of it feels the same as the first one.
Hmm.
Like
Very-
it's obviously not much change between shooting the two of them.
Yeah.
And while some of the stuff isn't as funny as the first, there's still comedy moments in it, and whether or not it's because we watched it as a group or not, it's the main reason why I said we should probably watch it together, because I had a feeling if we'd watched it separately, it may not have held up as well.
Hmm.
But it is a good movie night movie. Like it's something worth watching on a movie night when you want to throw something on.
Yeah. Rob?
Can you go before me, Michael? Because I want to see what you rate it.
Okay. I pretty much agree with Damien on this one. I'm going to give it a 5 as well because it's not as good as the first one, because the first one is just got some really great classic moments, and this one isn't quite as good as that one, even though it still does have some really funny things in it. And it is a bit of a carbon copy of the first one, where a lot of the story beats are the same, but the flubber is a little bit different. I didn't really like the weather thing as much as I liked the flubber in the first movie. So yeah, I'll give it a 5, but it's still really good if you can find it, if you can get it somehow. I think it's on DVD.
I will point out that there is a colorized version released in '97 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as the colorized version of Absent Minded Professor was released in 1986, I think.
I'd,
Okay.
I'd say
I
I'd
recommend
say,
black and white.
yeah, I'd say black and white because that's what it was intended for. Is
Yeah,
made to
it's
be
the
black and
style
white.
they shot it in explicitly for that reason. So
Yeah.
Like, okay,
All
now
right, Rob.
my rating may be a bit controversial.
7.
7.
I'm not giving it a 5. I'm not giving it a 7. I'm giving it a 4. I
This
didn't
guy, he
enjoy.
hates movies. He hates joy.
It hates
He's-
joy.
He just
I-
likes death. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Have your say.
So, like, the whole point of Flubber is Flubber. The whole squishy, putty-like thing. And this one, it turns Flubber into gas. I don't like that. I like seeing Flubber for Flubber. And honestly, there were so many unresolved plot points. There were so many unresolved plot points. And, like, don't get me wrong, it was a good movie, but just the lack of seeing Flubber in it and the unresolved plot points, I'm just like, sorry, but nah. I can't give it a 5. Has to be a 4. And I think I'm even being generous by giving it a 4.
Wow, you really didn't like it as much as myself and Damien.
Apparently
No.
not.
I
Yeah.
really didn't. I'm being generous.
Well-
Like, it's very, very loose. Like, it's at the very beginning of giving it a 4. It was almost going to be a 3, but I was like, no, it did have some redeeming qualities, like that fantastic turn in the police car into an accordion scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, it had its moments, but
Mm.
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's called Son of Flubber, but there's
Mm.
very little flubber in it, and there's no sun. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that one kind of was like weird.
So have I convinced you guys to give it a lower rating? To go down to
I'm
4
not giving
now?
you my rating.
no, I'm happy with 5. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
You guys aren't good film critiques.
All right. Well, that's what we thought about the movie. You can go to our Facebook page and let us know what you think about the movie. Go to Beneath the Castle, and we also have exclusive videos that just go up on the Facebook page, and all the stuff is up there. You can also go to SoundCloud and Spotify if you want to hear the podcast. If you want to see us, you can go to our YouTube page, Beneath the Castle, and we drop episodes every Monday morning at 10 a.m.
Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time.
Exactly.
Until Daylight Savings ends next month in April.
Well, you're going to have to change that then, Damien.
Yeah.
Australian Eastern Time.
Eastern Standard Time.
Australian Eastern Standard Time, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening or watching. And remember, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. Goodbye.
Peace.